Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is it's a bit of breaking news. It's live breaking news. Manchester United have made the announcement. I don't know if you've heard of it. I probably have. You clicked on the thumb. I'm guessing you know what's going on. They've made the announcement that we've appointed a football director and a technical director. Manchester United, I'm just going to read through a little statement that's come out from Manchester United, and then, of course, we'll get into your comments. Let us know what you think about this. We'll get into a bit of a background over the appointees, because there's two appointments. One you may know a lot about, the other one you may not know quite as much about, but don't worry about that. We're going to have you covered. We're going to go into all the background and details about these appointments. Hit like, give us a like on this video. Let us know you're out there. Give us a like. We appreciate that. And get involved in the comments, like I said, and let us know what you think about this. So I'm going to read this statement out, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat. Manchester United appoints John Murtough as football director and Darren Fletcher as technical director. Manchester United is pleased to announce the promotion of John Murtough to football director and Darren Fletcher to technical director, two new roles that will further strengthen the club's football operations. It says here, John will have overall leadership and responsibility for operations and strategy across all football functions, reinforcing the strong foundation already in place. I'll move on a little bit. And then it says, Darren will work closely with John to add technical input and direction into all football and performance areas. He will focus on a coordinated and long-term approach to player and squad development, helping maintain the integral link between the academy and the first team, aligned with Manchester United's values and culture. Also goes on to say, there's other bits, I'll just sort of skip through some of them. As football director, John will work day-to-day with Ollie to align recruitment and other strategies and to ensure that the first team has the best-in-class operational support it needs to succeed. Ollie will continue his role in the recruitment process, supported by extensive scouting and data analytics functions that will continue to report to John. Matt Judge will also report to John with a new title of Director of Football Negotiations. So some sort of serious machinations going on behind the scenes there at Manchester United. Now, loads of fans have been sort of crying out for a director of football, a technical director, whatever you want to call it, for years, since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. Once Sir Alex Ferguson retired, when we had the David Moyes era, and we saw the debacle that went on, not just with David Moyes, but with Ed Woodward during that summer as well. Do you remember when we tried to sign players? We were trying to get Ander Herrera. We had imposters posing as Manchester United representatives to sign him. We ended up paying over the odds for Marouane Fellaini, past what would have been his buyout clause because we left it too late. We tried to get Fabio Contrao at 10:30 at night or something, and Real Madrid just laughed at us and said, well, we can't buy a replacement for him, so that's not happening. There was a lot of nonsense that went on, and people were saying this would be helped by a football director or a technical director. Plus, when you look at the tenure of David Moyes and how he struggled in the job and all that went on with that, people kept thinking, well, maybe a director of football, technical director would help. So it's been something that's going on since then. Throughout the sort of Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho eras, there were still these calls, but a lot of people thought that wasn't likely to happen because Jose, the way he is, and Van Gaal, for that matter, the way he is as well. Is he going to have a director? Does he want a technical director? I know with Jose Mourinho, there'd been a bit of an issue there at Chelsea with him when Avram Grant was appointed into a similar-ish role. But then once Ollie came in, the sort of common thinking was maybe he's more suited to having someone working alongside him, or however you want to term it, above him, alongside him, below him, however you want to sort of word it or think about that role. It's just basically, working with the manager. And now it's finally happened. So after months and months or years and years, we finally got people in that role. Now, in terms of John Murtough, he's the one that a lot of us, and I say us because I'm equal to that, I didn't know a lot about him. I'd sort of heard his name a few times not around the club. I've not been around the club, but I'd heard his name in connection with the club. I know he'd had some sort of influence, and he was working behind the scenes, sort of in a similar vein to sort of the likes of Matt Judge or whatever. But I didn't know a lot about him. So, when this happened, I was a little bit surprised. Sort of caught us all by surprise. I think most people weren't expecting United to appoint a director of football anytime soon. And certainly John Murtough wasn't a name that was being bandied about by a lot of people as, it's going to be him. But it's happened. So I'm just looking at a few articles that are doing the rounds. It seems a lot of people have been sort of scrambling towards their laptops and penning a few articles about John Murtough, or maybe they had him in drafts, maybe they had a heads up. It says here, Murtagh is the Mancunian way of saying it, but I'll say it the correct way. Murtagh started his career as a sports scientist at Everton. All right, it's a Scouse team, but it's not the Scousers, it's not Liverpool's, it's all forgive him. Under former Manchester United manager David Moyes. He worked his way to become their head of performance before leaving in 2012 to become head of elite performance at the Premier League. In 2013, now here's interesting, Murtagh followed Moyes to Old Trafford and became head of football development. So it was obviously not the same role he's been doing, head of football development, but he became a close confidant of Ed Woodward, having helped to put the pathway in place which produced Scott McTominay, Rashford, Greenwood, Brandon Williams, all those guys. He has overseen the United Academy as well as leading an expansion of the scouting department and network. And then it goes on to say United have signed several talented youngsters in recent years, with Murtagh believed to be involved. Another sort of aside here, it says it was reported, for example, that he travelled to Norway with French scout Matteo Sekinger to watch Hannibal Mejbri as a 16-year-old before they splashed the cash to sign him from Monaco. So he's obviously been in and around. He's been in and around the club. I didn't realise it actually came with Moyes. I forgot about that. Came with Moyes. So he's been in and around the club for, what, eight and a half years, is that? Hasn't had this role until today, or until it's been announced today, but has a strong connection with some of the youngsters, has this sort of attitude or this approach of trying to get some of the best young talent. Now, we've spoken about this quite a lot on this channel. I think a lot of you guys have as well in the comments about the fact that there has been a little bit of a shift with Manchester United's approach to certain transfers. Manchester United have always got youngsters. There's nothing new about that. But it just felt of late like that may be becoming a little bit more prevalent when you look at the signings of players like Amad Diallo. United spent a lot of money on Amad Diallo. It could rise up to £37 million, I think, with add-ons. Also, for Facundo Pellistri, those were two signings we made around deadline day. Sort of a nod to the fact that we're looking at youngsters and we're willing to take a little bit of a gamble, because 37 million quid for a player that had played, I think, an hour of professional football was definitely a gamble. But that might be some sort of the reason behind that might be something to do with John Murtough. The fact that we have this approach. Ollie obviously likes using youngsters. He's been giving youngsters a chance in the squad. We've seen the likes of Mason Greenwood, Brandon Williams, not to mention the fact that in the Europa last season, you look at the team that he took to Astana, he literally took Lee Grant, Jesse Lingard, and a load of kids. It was like a team I'd never seen before, to be honest with you. That level of sort of giving all the youngsters a chance in a match that, you know, United could obviously afford to lose. But he's obviously a manager who's willing to do that, and it looks like he's got the man who's going to help him do that in John Murtough. So in terms of what he'll actually do, what his role will, the nuts and bolts of it, I know I've read the press release out, but it also says that here, you know, there's some more details. It says that Murtagh's new role will focus on player recruitment. So we know that it's about player recruitment. He's going to look at that. Other clubs have that. Other clubs have directors, don't they? Directors of football. We know that City have Bergistan, Tiki Bergistan. City have the Edwards. Liverpool have the Edwards. Is it who's involved? And those guys work closely with the manager, and those relationships more often than not have been a huge success for those clubs. Not for every club, obviously, but if you look at the way those relationships have worked, they've been able to work in tandem with the manager. I think the difficulty we've had here a little bit at Manchester United is you've had a manager who's come in, he's wanted these players for the short-term sort of problem of keeping his job, and then when he's gone on, the new manager's come in and not fancied some of those players. This seems like a little bit more long-term. The thinking here is we've got a director of football, we've got a technical director as well. People that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer obviously knows, he's worked with before, especially Darren Fletcher, who, you know, he's obviously known for years. Those are going to support the manager. This is more long-term thinking in a model that a lot of other European clubs will do. It says here as well, manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will continue to have input into the recruitment process along with this worldwide scouting, and they'll report to Murtagh, who will head up the football operations. And it also says here, in one of the articles I've got, the new roles mean Woodward's involvement in transfers will be reduced. Now, for me, that's manna from heaven, that comment. I've not been a fan of Ed Woodward being involved in transfers since he arrived. I mentioned there the summer of 2013 when it was an absolute farce. He's a banker. He's an investment banker. He's not a football person. He doesn't know how to get transfers done quickly. He doesn't understand about scouting and you know, the best way to look at for players and how to help the manager in terms of recruitment and things like that. Now, what he can do is hire people that do that. I'm not against that idea. Obviously, he can, and that's what he's done. He's brought in someone who's going to take on that role and see him push back a little bit, because I think Ed Woodward shouldn't be having anything to do with transfers other than perhaps signing a few checks if it's even him that does it. So Murtagh on the roll says, this is such an exciting time for everyone at Manchester United with the first team, academy and women's team. He was also a very important role in the women's team as well, I think. I think he had a big part in Manchester United's women's team. All performing strongly and plenty of development still to come. It's a privilege to be part of that process and an honour. I'm so excited to lead Manchester United's football department, working alongside Ollie Casey. It's good that he's giving a nod to the women's team. Then he's looking at the club as a whole, not just the men's team. So many other truly outstanding staff, all dedicated to delivering success to this club. Woodward's weighed in as well. He said about the appointment of Darren Fletcher and John Murtough. These are hugely important appointments that reinforce the progress we have been making as a club in recent years in our relentless pursuit of success. We have already made great strides forward in the way we run our football operations, and the benefits are visible in the resurgent pipeline of academy talent reaching the first team and through our improved recruitment record. John has been integral to our progress in these areas, and his deep understanding of development ensures the club's traditions of bringing young players through the academy to first team will continue. He also goes on to say there about Darren Fletcher as well. Darren's stellar achievements as a player and his own journey from academy to Premier League and Champions League winner means he naturally commands respect and understands this vital part of the club's DNA. So you sort of get that. I understand those appointments. When Darren Fletcher, he's had a couple of he's had one promotion and another one, hasn't he, in recent times as Manchester United as part of the coaching staff. It makes sense. One thing that worried me about the Darren Fletcher appointment, because Darren Fletcher was linked with being director of football a couple of years ago. I think there's him, Patrice Evra and Rio Ferdinand were all linked with the job. Now, I love all those players. My only concern was, do they have the experience of that role, of the director of football role? Is that where their skill sets lie? Are they going to be able to come in and make transfers happen a lot easier, or help the manager in recruitment, or do what a director of football needs to do? There's no doubt they've got football knowledge. I'm not disputing that. Obviously, they've got bags of experience. They've worked with Sir Alex Ferguson. They've worked with, other great managers as well. Not post Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, but some of them have worked with other clubs. Does that translate into, I know how to be a director of football, I know how to pick up the phone and get a transfer deal done, I know how to find out when there's a player who's available who might be unhappy with his current contract? Do I have those connections and that know-how? Darren Fletcher coming in as a technical director, working alongside someone, it's not him who's overseeing all the transfers. He's not having to worry about that. He's just supporting the manager and also the director of football. And that seems to be a better fit for me. I like that idea. And it seems to be like you get in that United DNA. A lot of people don't like that, but I kind of get it. You know what? We do have that sort of connection where we've got players that come through the academy, that have gone into the coaching staff, and that can be a positive thing. If you look back at Manchester United, go back to Sir Matt Busby, we've always nurtured the academy and we've always tried to have that sort of connection between the academy and the first team. Just going to get into some of the super chats as well. Seamus Williams says, feels like we are looking at a much longer project than initially thought. Hopefully it build into 21 and beyond. Yes, I agree completely with that. Abhinav Pandey says, our youth recruitment has been much better compared to the first team recruitment. If Murtagh has been involved in that area, then it's a positive. Let us know what you think. Do you think our recruitment has been better? Do you think our development, our signings, have they, over the last couple of years, you've been impressed with them? You can see the graphic there from Darren Fletcher. He says, it's great to be back with the club and I'm delighted to be taking on this new role. We are moving in the right direction and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Ollie and his coaching team. I'm going to dive into some of the comments because loads of you have got a lot to say. Let me just try and find one that makes a bit of sense. Someone else saying, Fletcher next in line for director of football. Maybe he is. Maybe he's being nurtured. Maybe this is a stepping stone. Who knows? Maybe long term, he might end up with a situation where you have Darren Fletcher as the sort of man who is in the role that John Murtough is currently occupying. One thing that interests me as well is the fact that Matt Judge is reporting to him, because I don't know if you caught the Patrice Evra interview a couple of, what was it, about 4 months ago? Where was it even an interview? It was an Instagram post. When it was an interview, sorry, forgive me. It was an Instagram post where he did a sort of IGTV live or whatever, and he had a bit of a rant, and he had a dig at Matt Judge. He didn't really dig out the Glazers, which I was disappointed in because I think he praised Joe Glazer, which I'm not a big fan of. But he said that Matt Judge was, I don't want to, I'm paraphrasing here, but he more or less made out that Matt Judge didn't know what he was doing. That players were running out of contracts, he didn't know about it, that he wasn't really fit to be doing what the job he's doing. And maybe, I'm not saying that Patrice Evra has made this happen, I'm just saying that maybe that was sort of something he was alluding to, the idea that Matt Judge isn't quite a football man in terms of knowing what he needs to know about getting transfers done and things like that. Where John Murtough is someone who's obviously been involved in the game for many, many years, knows the structure of clubs, knows how Manchester United work, knows about transfers, knows about Ollie, and what he wants from transfers and the academy as well, and the women's team. He seems to have had his sort of fingers in a lot of pies at the club in a positive way. I don't mean that in a bad way. And we'll wait and see what happens. Just seeing what people are thinking about it. Someone saying, Tom Fallon says, wasn't Murtagh head of performance for the Premier League? Surely his contacts alone is a big plus for his new job role. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier if you just joined us. If you are just joining us, hit like as well. Give us a like. Over 2,600 of you watching. Only 300 likes. Come on, man. You know the dance. He was involved in the Premier League. You'd expect him to have contacts. He's been involved in this sort of game for best part of a decade. He did work with the Premier League. He's obviously been at United a little while as well. He's been there a little while. So you'd expect him to know the job, know the players that are at United, know the academy, knows the coaching staff, and also, hopefully, he'll know... He'll have contacts throughout the Premier League. And if you look at some of the deals we've made, I don't know how involved he's been of late in some of those deals, but we have got some deals made and we have got some sort of youngsters over the line in a sort of pretty swift manner. I go back to the Amad Diallo one. Now, we paid a lot for Amad Diallo. I'm not disputing that. But when we spoke to Romano about that, he said he was impressed with Manchester United. He said that the way that Manchester United went and got that deal done quickly was very good because he felt it was a bold move, but the right move, because he thought that someone like a Juventus or a Milan may come in for Amad Diallo, who hadn't played a lot of football, but was highly respected and highly thought of in Italy. That's where Romano's from. And he's spoken to Atalanta, where Diallo was from, and a lot of players there were raving about him and said this kid can reach the very top. United got in there as a bit of a surprise, and you just wonder whether that is due to the new approach. And whether John Murtough was a part of that, and that's something we can look forward to. We don't want to just see youngsters coming in. I've said this a long time. You don't want to just see 17, 18-year-olds coming in, because then that means, the first team immediately doesn't get the strengthening it needs. But you want to see a bit of both. We had that in the summer, not to the extent I wanted to see, when you had Telles, Cavani, Van der Beek and Palestri and Diallo. And my only issue with that is I didn't think we had enough sort of first team ready players. Telles was sort of backup. Cavani was thought of to be backup. I know he's more or less first team if he's fit now. And Van der Beek was more or less a backup. I thought we needed more first team players, someone like a Jadon Sancho or a Deo up and Meccano who could come straight in or whatever. Didn't happen, but I quite like the idea of buying experience and youngsters as well. Stuart English says Matt Judge is still sorting the contracts. That's a problem. Woodward still CEO. Someone else says lol. He's not CEO, is he? I know he is de facto, but didn't he call himself executive vice chairman or something? What's that about? I never get him. I'm going to be Captain Her Majesty. Executive vice chairman, just call yourself CEO or director of, not director of, the CEO. Why chief executive like everyone else does? Why do you have to give yourself a fancy different title? John Allen says this can only be a good thing. Let us know, are you feeling positive about it? For me, it sounds like a positive thing, but I'm just, you've got to wait and see, haven't you? Because it's easy, on the surface, this looks like a move that makes sense. Someone who's got contacts, knows the club, has sort of been in around the coaching staff or the club, sort of administration, whatever you want to call it, for a few years, has worked with the Premier League. So you think, again, going back to that contacts things, and adheres to those principles of trying to nurture the academy, knows some of the academy players as well. So he's got a bit of a relationship within the squad. It all sounds positive, but the proof of the pudding's in the eating, or whatever they say. You've got to wait and see, haven't you? He could come in, and in the summer, if we go, we couldn't get Jadon Sancho, we couldn't get Erling Haaland, we couldn't get, I don't know, Ibrahim Konate or whoever. We've had to buy, just a couple of youngsters, and the market wasn't very good. Then John Murtough will be the first person a lot of people were pointing a finger at. Other than the Glazers, obviously. But a lot of people going, oh, well, that director of football role's working out well when we've not got the players that we need. So that's what's going to make or break this guy, I think. I think it's going to be about the signings we make and how Manchester United perform on the football pitch. If Manchester United struggle on the football pitch, people are going to start looking, not just at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but maybe they'll start looking at John Murtough, maybe even Darren Fletcher as well, especially if the recruitment doesn't feel right, if we don't feel like we've been fully backed. If you look at the sort of this first team, you're saying, we need strengthening, and the people at the club are going, oh, well, we couldn't get that deal done. Well, why couldn't you get that deal done? What's going on? And you've got a director of football, you've got a technical director. These guys should be able to help out Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and make these deals happen. So I think that it's going to be one of those with John Murtough. You're going to have to wait and see how this pans out. But in my initial thoughts, I'm not being too negative. I think it sounds like a positive move. Anything that says to me Matt Judge and Ed Woodward are taking less of an interest in transfers, to me, seems like a positive. I'm not privy to what goes on in the club, but it's pretty obvious that Woodward and Judge have been involved in transfers in the past. We can see that. And, with varying degrees of success, shall we say. I'm not a big fan of bankers and people like that making football decisions at the football club. This sounds like a football man is going to be making football decisions and helping the manager. And I think personally it's going to be an appointment that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be happy with. I'd be very surprised if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hadn't sort of signed off on this and said, yeah, I can work with John Murtough. And obviously Darren Fletcher, who knows, it'd seem like an absolute crackers move. So I think that's a positive one. If you are just joining us, a couple of people saying what have I missed, I'll just recap quickly. John Murtough and Darren Fletcher being given new roles at the club. John Murtough is football director and Darren Fletcher is technical director. They're going to be working with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to help nurture academy talent, and also they're going to be helping in recruitment as well. Saragon McKinney. Even the names that you think I wouldn't struggle with, I struggle with. He says a lot of talking points about youth side of squad, but very little about scouting and signing the best in the world. Underwhelmingly bland expectation management. Van der Sar more experienced. A few people were saying this during the summer. We should get Edwin van der Sar in because obviously he's like chief exec or something at Ajax. His football. What's his official title at Ajax? I know he's CEO. Yeah, sorry, he's the Ajax CEO, I think. And people were saying we'll get him in as technical director. Also, you saw it the way that him and Ollie got together and made the Van de Beek transfer happen in hours. No one saw that one coming. We were covering news stories and transfer stories every day, constantly, and I think we mentioned Van der Beek once in the sort of 3 days before it happened, and then all of a sudden, boom, we had him. And I think a lot of that was to do with Edwin van der Sar being involved from the Ajax side of things and speaking to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so it sort of cut out any red tape or any nonsense. People would love to see Edwin van der Sar come in and do that job here. I don't know, he's CEO at Ajax. I think it'd take a lot to tempt him away. Vinit Viduran in the super chat says, DF has no experience. The final say is with Woodward and Judge. It's like they just named a position for themselves. So, sorry, Darren Fletcher, I guess is DF. He says that Darren Fletcher's got no experience and the final say is with Woodward and Judge. But on that press release, and I know you can't always go off press releases because, it's just club propaganda, really, and it's not necessarily the way it's going to work. But they were saying, I think Matt Judge is going to report to him sort of thing, or is that not the way they worded it? I don't know. It seems that if it is just going to be the same, that Woodward and Murtagh, Judge are going to be making the final, having the final say, having the final decisions. Even Joel Glazer, apparently, with his reports, one of that he was involved in transfers. He was giving the nod and the thumbs up and thumbs down into whether he liked to play or not, which is absolutely just filled me with dread. Hearing that he should focus on paying Tom Brady's wages, whatever it is he does over in Tampa Bay. But yeah, that really scared me. So some people are a little bit cynical about these appointments, think that maybe they're just figureheads and that the real sort of power behind the scenes is going to remain with Judge and Woodward. I don't know what goes on at Manchester United. We're not privy to the inside and outsides of the club, ins and outs of the clubs. But I would say this, Darren Fletcher doesn't strike me as someone who would just take a role to tick a box. He strikes me as someone, if he's going to take a role, he'll take a role where he's going to do that role, where he's going to have the input that he wants to have, where he's going to have the experience and be able to influence the team the way he was. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, this is sort of idea that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is this big curmudgeon, sort of jovial, avuncular type guy who's just, dead kind to everyone, puts his arm around everyone, it's a bit of a whipping boy for the Glazers, does as he's told. Again, I'm not sure how true that is when it comes to things like this. I don't know if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have someone appointed to work with him, alongside him, who he didn't want, who he thought wasn't up to the job. I'm not so sure about that as well. We'll have to wait and see, though. Listen, the transfer window in the summer is going to be a massive proving point for this. This is going to show just how serious Manchester United are as a football club about making the signings to take us to the level and get us challenging for a title more than we did this season, which lasted about a fortnight. If we really want to do C21 coming, and I think we need to spend some money in the transfer window, and I think hopefully these appointments should help those transfers run smoothly and happen smoothly. Ryan CR96 says, we've been crying for something to happen like this happened for years and still people are still complaining, give it a rest. John Graham says, Matt Judge is still the same, completely useless, uni friend, horrible even, horrible, that's a new word for you. So John Graham seems went to uni with him, don't like him. Devil's Aces hope they can see we need a real central defensive midfielder. Andy Williams says, can't lie, got a bad feeling or hot bad feeling about this, and he's got a bad feeling about this. Chris Chester Armstrong says, I just hope this means we look like a club with a plan, something we haven't been used to, for the past 7 years. Pranav Murtagh says, sorry, I thought I'd read this one, and I haven't. He says, Murtagh's been at the club for 7 years, only inexperienced, so is Darren Fletcher. I just hope we are not creating a room full of yes men. Yeah, get involved in the comments, let us know what you think. Do you think these appointments are yes men? Do you see these players or these people as coaches or managers or whatever as yes men? I don't think they are. I'm not sure. I know to a certain degree, right? There's this thing that people have a legitimate gripe with Ollie sometimes, or with any manager at Manchester United, that, they don't stand up to the Glazers enough, or they're just yes men for the Glazers, or the Glazer puppets. But I think you have to be realistic about that. Like, yes, I expect the manager to be arguing or pushing back with the owners and with whoever the powers that be, that he needs transfers, pushing them to make transfers, pushing them to spend money, saying that he needs to strengthen, going in there and saying, looking at the squad, and, if you want me to compete with the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, and Chelsea's of this world, you need to invest. But I don't know that it just makes you a yes man, or just, you're a puppet all the time, that you're just a complete yes man who does as he's told. Because I think there has to be an element of that. Yes, they are your bosses, and you can't just go in there and say, you know what, F you, I'm going, or whatever, or if you don't give me this signing, I'm done, because then they'll probably just go on, then we're not going to spend the 100 million on Jadon Sancho, so off you pop. But I think there has to be a bit of balance. So you have to push back, certainly, you have to demand transfers. And there were stories this week that Ollie had told them that he needed 3 major signings in the summer. Whether that happens, we'll have to wait and see. As I keep saying here, a lot of this depends on the transfer budget, depends on who we get in the summer, who we're going after. There's already been sort of whispers that, we're only going to make 1 major signing because of the pandemic and things like that. It's difficult to sort of swallow that when you look at the amount of money that the Glazers are taking out of the club. They're taking their dividends all the time. So when you hear the stories or rumours or whatever, that, there's not as much. Well, it wasn't rumours, was it? It was sort of, there was the conference call, whatever you call it, and the update, and it's like, it's going to be a difficult time with transfer, we haven't got as much money because there's no crowd in the stands. Well, if that's the case, stop taking as much money out of the club. I'll dive into some of the comments and I'll start wrapping up. If you're not doing so already, give us a like as well. Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think about it. I'll do a bit of recap before going to the comments. John Murtough has been appointed as Manchester United football director, and Darren Fletcher as technical director. The club have made the announcement today, and it says that, basically, I'll just run over it quickly. It says Manchester United is pleased to announce the promotion of John Murtough to football director and Darren Fletcher to technical director, 2 new roles that will further strengthen the club's football operation. John will have overall leadership and responsibility for operations and strategy across all football functions, reinforcing the strong foundations already in place. Blah, 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 blah. And then it goes, Darren will work closely with John to add technical input and direction into all football and performance areas. He will focus on a coordinated and long-term approach to player and squad development, helping maintain the integral link between the academy and the first team. Can't even say the word team. Get a grip, Jay. Aligned with Manchester United's values and culture. As football director, John will work day-to-day with Ollie to align recruitment and other strategies, and to ensure that the first team has best-in-class operational support it needs to succeed. Success for me is winning things. That's how you judge success at Manchester United Football Club. I don't mean winning derbies, although that's great and I enjoyed it. I mean winning trophies, silverware. That's success. Not being top of the league for a fortnight or whatever it was in January or Christmas. I want to see Manchester United challenging and winning silverware. I want to see us winning trophies. That's what this club should and has always been about. And we haven't done it for a little while. Now, these appointments, I'm all for them. I'm not going to criticise them before they've even got the feet under the table. It sounds like a positive move, but for me, you will see the proof of whether this is a positive move when Manchester United start winning things. If we win things and we're buying the players that help us win things, and we're nurturing the academy talent that helps us to come through, that helps us to get to the levels we want to, and they're coming into the first team, and you look at Manchester United and you say, okay, we've got a team that is challenging, and we seem to have, a setup in place that's making us contenders again, not just contenders, but actually winning silverware, then yeah, these appointments will be looked back on as favourable ones. If this time next year we're still sort of miles away, or, some distance behind the City or whoever's at the top of the table, we haven't won anything, you feel like the squad needs strengthening, and it's just, another Jadon Sancho transfer rumour to keep you warm, then no, I'm not going to be happy with this. One thing that's always been going on with Manchester United of late is whenever there's been bad results or where there's been a bad run, we've had the old rumours come out, there's going to bounce to appoint a director of football. Well, they can't do those rumours anymore because they've gone and done that. I'm just going to go into the comments before I start wrapping up. Need to see, someone's just put on my screen there, wrap up soon. Do you ever listen to what I say? Producer. I've just said I'm going to wrap up, and he's put on my screen, wrap up soon. He never listens to me, honestly. It's not producer Cam before you say it's the other one. Producer Callum. Two sides of the same coin, to be honest with you. Dan says, can't judge it on the summer transfers window, as in it'll be a weird one. The 2022 summer window will define disappointment. That's a good point, that. Maybe it will be a bit further down the line. Might be next summer when we really judge it. But I still think this summer you've got to go big. And also, we're United fans. You know what United fans are like. We are going to judge it on this summer. We don't make signings this summer. John Murtough and Darren Fletcher and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the Glazers and everyone else will be getting the blame. Ronaldo Brown says, hi, Jay. Hi, mate. You okay? Hashtag sack Callum. No, we're not going to sack him. Do you know what I mean? We just like to embarrass him on camera. It's much more fun. I'm going to wrap up there. If you don't know, one final sort of comment on it, just to give you a heads up. Manchester United have appointed John Murtough as football director and Darren Fletcher as technical director. So what we've been sort of crying out for, a lot of us anyway, not everyone, seems to have happened. Not necessarily those people in those roles, but people have been crying out for those types of appointments. They have happened. We'll wait and see whether they are successful. Hopefully they will be. But like I've always said, at Manchester United, we're about winning things. If we win things and we sign the players that we need to help us win things, then those signings, or those appointments will be looked at favourably. If we don't, then people will say it's just the same old at Manchester United. It ain't gonna. If you're not subscribing, make sure you are hitting subscribe, hit like and share as well. We'll have another update later on tonight. It's going to be myself and Joe Smith with Transfers Live, so make sure you check that out. We'll be giving you all the latest news in terms of transfers that Manchester United are looking at and whether John Murtough and Darren Fletcher could help us get them. I've been Jay. This has been Stretford Paddock. Thanks for watching.